Met like over 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
But we didn't really start playing in the band. We didn't start the band until much later than that. Not until we were done school.
I didn't start playing drums till I was 19 or 20, like quite late. When we were going to school in Victoria, that's when I started playing drums. Basically, I knew I wanted to start playing in bands, and I was not a very good guitarist. And I figured drums would be like a pretty good shortcut because everybody's always looking for a drummer, it seems.
I learned how to play guitar when I was quite young. Like I had the Appetite for Destruction tablature booklet, and like as well as the Illusions records, etc. And like I learned how to play guitar in those days when I was quite young. And then where I grew up, it's just a small town. There was no local music scene, so like you wouldn't play. You know, I was quite a bit later that discovered like actually playing bands themselves. So the only outlet for me to play guitar when I was a kid was in school. When I went to university, sold my guitar and then never had one the whole time we were at university. It was when we were getting to the end of school and we were talking seriously about starting a band that it was just sort of like, well, I already know how to play guitar. So like if I could get a guitar and get a guitar amp, I could be the guitar player because I do know how to play it. But yeah, there was like a pretty big chunk of time in there where it just, you know, it seemed like something that you just did when you were young, and time was just had been there and passed. So, but now I do it every night.
Boys are leaving town. Boys are leaving town. Boys are leaving town now. Boys are leaving town. Boys are leaving town. Boys are leaving town now. Boys are leaving town.
I think certainly like the time that we met, being kind of like university aged, living in Victoria and starting to see lots and lots of touring bands and also seeing lots of local bands in the Victorian music scene, you know, informed the kind of music that we went on to make in certain ways. I think the biggest thing that kind of like the two of us meeting and starting to go to shows together did was that was when we first started kind of getting exposed to like a local music scene and realizing that like you know, music is something that people, you know, can do. It's not reserved for you know, big touring bands that come from some other place. It can be people that you know and you know, you're going to run into at school or at the bus stop or something like that, and they're going to be making music. And if you work hard enough at your music, you can make music that's worth, you know, listening to. So I think that definitely had an effect on us, certainly like being in Victoria at that specific time, that age, and starting to see bands like Frog Eyes and Run She Go Run playing like all the time in Victoria, you know. Not that those bands necessarily were like direct musical influences, but just the idea of like, you know, if you work hard at it, you can do something that's, you know, worth listening to.
We'll always find this way to Sutherland. So kiss away your gypsy fears and turn some restless nights to restless years. Let them out the light. The flares are we denied. Leaving now we know. Let them out the light. The flares are we denied. Leaving now we know. I saw the fire and eyes of flame.
You can't actually draw a musical parallel between like writing and recording a record and like what we, you know, like like other bands or other records, because like all we were really trying to do was better ourselves from our last record. So it's sort of like we were just trying to do a better job of what we had previously done and push it even further. So I don't remember there ever being much talk or much thought about like hearing something and being like, oh, we should do something like this, or like wanting to have a record that's like that. I mean, I think if those kind of influences like Springsteen, for example, are obvious to the listener, that's more of like an inherent influence. You know, like that's like something you don't really think about it or notice it or realize it's happening until you've made your record and people are like, it has this kind of vibe or it kind of sounds like that. You know, it's like if you grow up with a certain kind of music, it's going to be, and it's like kind of embedded in you, it's going to be impossible when you actually like pick up an instrument and go to make music yourself that you don't find some of that in there. So if you can consider Post Nothing the record of this is where we live and we're kind of stuck here and you want to kind of like get out and do something else, then this record could be considered what happens after you do get out, which we did, and do something else, do a lot of things for quite a long time. And I mean, if you think about it, probably had more just life experiences in that kind of 2 years that we toured on that first record, just in the places you go and the people that you meet and the things that happen to you. Like, it's very overwhelming. It's like every day is totally different with respect to, well, a lot of the day is not totally different. A lot of the day is painfully repetitive, but a lot of the day, the rest of the day can be like, you know, really new and exciting sort of every day. So when you do that for a couple of years, you just, the amount of substance you have to draw from to write music or write songs about is so much greater than you ever had before. So I consider this record to be sort of like, actually I consider Post Nothing to be not an introspective record. I don't consider this one to be an introspective record either necessarily. I just think it's more like, here's a record you wrote at a time where like you wanted to be at a certain place and you weren't there. And here's a record you wrote later when you got to that place and what it was like to go from here to here, sort of thing. And like everything that happened in between. So if it comes off as introspective, I suppose that's a good thing. But
Give me that thing you give love. Give me that you and me in great run. Give me my girlfriend love all that free.
I think that the band is like is just, you know, rock and roll band. I mean, you can break it down into fancier subgenres to make, you know, your articles interesting and that sort of thing, and the Music Press loves to do that, but I just see it as like a rock and roll band, you know. It's like very straightforward. It's like guitars and drums and singing. Like, it's been rock and roll for quite a long time, and that's just what it is. And so, and I think there can be different kinds of rock and roll music. Like, it's not, there can be like, you know, I find ours to be particularly celebratory. You know, that's just like how we play, and the kind of, it's just like what it is to me.
Trying to bust a love somebody.